Hey everybody, Jeff Graham with the Kitsap Sun here at Kitsap Bank Stadium at South Kitsap High School. This was the site recently of a very special moment in South Kitsap sports history. We'll tell you about it on this week's Beat Blast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this edition of the Beat Blast, sponsored by the Admiral Theater. Story number 1 today. It was a beautiful moment the night they dedicated this stadium to former football coach Ed Fisher. He and thousands of others watched as South Kitsap snapped a 21-game losing streak. To the players and coaches, it was almost as if they had won a state title.
To share that experience with Coach Fisher, and then obviously the emotions of that game, pure joy, excitement, sadness, tears, relief, you name it, we had every emotion out there. So just as a coach and a teacher, for me to get to experience that, it's pretty special. It's more than football. It was a community event. We played our brand of football. We want to get back to physical style of football, and we beat them down a little bit. We wore them out. Winning is hard, especially when you're not used to it. So we just had to avoid the self-sabotage and just keep playing, and we did. So we got this new coaching staff with some new athletes mixed in with the real dedicated guys that have been through some really tough times, and it's just a really good mix right now. So we'll keep it going.
Story number 2. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson recently filed a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's reallocation of military funds for the border wall. Here to explain the local project is the Kitsap Sun's Josh Farley. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Jeff.
So Josh, just tell us about Kitsap County's involvement with this suit.
Okay, so Attorney General Bob Ferguson, flanked by Governor Jay Inslee, talked about how this Bangor project would perhaps even diminish the security around our sailors and do some environmental damage if the project is not completed. So what is this project? Well, it's an $89 million project for what's called the Maritime Force Protection Unit. This is operated by the Coast Guard, and currently they're missing a pier to complete the work that they do, but also they have to get a barge that goes all the way from Manchester and to Bangor. That is how they refuel their vessels. So this project would make it possible that 2 big, long, 250-foot blocking vessels that don't currently have a home at Bangor, they would get a home where the Maritime Force Protection Unit is located. Number 2, there would be a new boathouse created that would house all of the vessels and cutters that the Coast Guard uses on this very important mission that they do that protects both our ballistic missile and guided missile submarines as they transit to and from Bangor from the waters of the Pacific Ocean. And number 3, it would provide a fuel terminal that would be used that could refuel all of the Coast Guard vessels there. Last week, Kitsap Sun photographer Megan Reed and I accompanied the Coast Guard to see how they perform this very vital mission.
I lead a dedicated group of men and women, over 150 of them, to support security operations here in the Pacific Northwest, working in conjunction with the Navy. This unit is the only unit on the West Coast that provides protection for our submarine fleet here in the Pacific Northwest. We have a sister unit in Southeast Georgia in Kings Bay that does the same thing for the East Coast. And this is a unique partnership between the Coast Guard and Navy, perhaps the best I've seen in my career. The 64-foot special purpose craft screening vessel that's behind me is unique to the Maritime Force Protection Unit program. There's 12 in the Coast Guard, 6 here on the West Coast and 6 on the East Coast. And these are specifically designed and equipped to help support our security mission for the Navy.
Story number 3. Students staged a walkout of school all over the nation on Friday, including in Kitsap County, to protest inaction on the climate crisis. Kitsap Sun reporter Chris Henry went to Kingston to take in one local protest.
I hope we can accomplish to get as much support and attention we can get, because we need this for our planet.
Today I would like to bring attention just to the problem of climate change and just hope that people make changes. Why should we go to school and educate ourselves and waste this time preparing for a future that is being destroyed by our past generations.
Story number 4. What is it like to pilot a small plane and circumnavigate the world? One local Bainbridge pilot did just that, and Kitsap Sun reporter Nathan Pilling has the story.
Took a route that went north from here up to Alaska, then across the Bering Strait to Russia, and south through Siberia to Japan, from Japan across South Korean airspace into China, then China across Mongolia back into Russia, then across Kazakhstan, back into Russia, then to Turkey, and then across Europe to the UK, and then to Iceland, across Greenland, and then Canada, and back home again. Flying around in a small plane, you're typically flying at 10 to 12,000 feet, and instead of at 35,000 feet where airliners often fly. And so you can see the world in more detail than you can from a high altitude. You can see a lot of human activity going on that you miss from a high altitude. And so it feels like a more personal experience in terms of embracing what you're flying over.
Finally, what's on tap for your weekend? Sponsored by Silver City Brewery Taproom. Saturday marks the final Port Orchard Night Market on the waterfront from 6 to 10 p.m. Take an evening stroll and browse goods from local artisans, makers, and food vendors. That's it for our show. Don't forget to check out the Kitsap Sun's prep coverage every weekend. Thanks to our sponsors, and thank you to those who subscribe to the newspaper. We couldn't do this without you. See you soon.
Come on now, be great. Go! There you go, Jay.